What's happening, beautiful people? For today's video, I wanted to share a story and experience about something that shaped and changed my life. About 2 years ago, my friend Dan recommended that I volunteer for hospice. He had just finished and he said it was an amazing experience and that he highly recommended that I do it. And for those of you who are not familiar, hospice is it's a facility and/or a program that focuses on end-of-life care, and it focuses on comfort for them. The patients typically are people who have less than 6 months to live and they have terminal illnesses. And it was actually about half a year before I actually decided to volunteer for hospice after Dan told me about it. So when I signed up, I went through training and I was matched with a patient in his 70s who had Alzheimer's, early onset Alzheimer's, diabetes, and just other illnesses. Let's just call him Jack for now. My role as a volunteer was to spend the weekends with him. Just a couple hours on the weekend, just spend time with him so that his wife, who was his full-time caregiver, could get out of the house because she took care of him 7 days a week, and that's a lot of work for anyone. So my role was to just essentially hang out with him for a couple hours each weekend on Saturday or Sunday. Growing up, I was never really around death. I went to a couple funerals when I was younger, but I wasn't really quite old enough to fully grasp the idea and concept of what was happening. Now here I was, a 25-year-old, sitting in a room with a man who has been told he has less than 6 months to live. It was a very surreal feeling. But I don't want to paint the scene as like melancholy or depressing, because it was actually quite the opposite. The majority of my time spent with him was watching old Western TV shows and watching Western movies, because those were his favorite. And the remaining time was spent with just me talking about his life and just chatting with him. And I actually ended up spending more than 6 months with him. I actually ended up spending around 9 months with him. Around 9 months, I had decided I wanted to move to Arizona. So a month or so prior, I gave my volunteer manager notice that I was moving to Arizona and that I can only volunteer up to 2 weeks before my move date. And I remember about a week before I was supposed to move, I was in a parking lot on downtown Birmingham in Michigan, and I received a call from my volunteer manager. It was odd. I didn't actually expect what she was calling for, but she had called and told me that my patient had passed. And again, I was swept with that surreal feeling again. It was like I just spent almost a year with this man, almost every weekend, and he just passed away. This was actually my first real true encounter with death, that I would say, when someone I connected to as an adult and then saw pass. This was the first moment where I truly realized that one day I'm going to die, and realizing that we're not on this planet forever and we're all mortal. And unless technology advances, in the next 120 years, every human on the planet right now is going to be replaced with another human. Again, unless technology advances where it can prolong human life, all of us, you, me, and anyone watching this video right now, we're all going to be gone. And I wouldn't bet on and live my life like I was going to have to live to 200, because that's just a bet I wouldn't make. And nowadays, death is seen as a taboo topic. It's considered too morbid, too dark to talk about in our positive society. Although I will say positivity is good, but then nowadays we just want to peddle the lie that we're going to live forever with these elixirs and creams and this youth fountain. Back then, however, death wasn't really actually seen as a taboo topic. It was used as a tool and a motivator. Memento mori, which is Latin for remember that you must die, was a practice that people did. It was essentially reflecting on the fact that you're going to die. It's reflecting on your mortality. And it was used as a tool to help those live good and meaningful lives. And my experience with hospice has really shaped how I view my life, how I view mortality, and made me come to terms that one day I'm going to die. Sooner or later, it's inevitably going to happen. And it's motivated me to live a good, meaningful life that I want to pursue, a life that I want to live, because eventually it's going to end. And I just wanted to share my story, my experience. And if you ever have the opportunity to volunteer for hospice, then I highly recommend you do it. Until tomorrow, peace and love.